Hi, this is Carrie Brownstein.
This is DJ Premier.
This is Darren Aronofsky.
You got the RZA right here.
Rose McGowan.
Radiohead.
Aisha Tyler.
Tribe Called Quest.
Fred Armisen.
Prince Paul.
Javier Munoz. Seth Meyers.
Frankie Cosmos.
Flying Lotus.
Hi, we're Chaim, and you're listening to the Talk House podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Talk House podcast. I'm executive editor Josh Modell, and we've got a great episode for you this week. A veteran singer-songwriter in conversation with a guy who's just starting out on what promises to be an incredible career. Robin Pecknold of Fleet Foxes and his friend Elijah Wolf. Robin and Elijah have kind of a meet-cute story. Elijah was working at the legendary Crandall guitar shop in New York when Pecknold came in, and Elijah happened to be listening to a band called Holy Hive, which features mutual friends of theirs. The two struck up a friendship of their own and shared music with each other over the course of the pandemic. Pecknold was secretly working on the first Fleet Foxes album in 3 years, and Wolf had been writing and recording his upcoming debut album. The Fleet Foxes record, the excellent Shore, was surprise released in September of 2020, and Elijah's record, Better Lighting, will be out February 26th of 2021. Take a listen to a little bit of Like This Anymore from Elijah's debut.
Time is ticking and you're out of time.
You can see why these two might get along, given their propensity for intimate, well-crafted songs. Their albums even have at least one session player in common. And as you'll hear in the chat, Elijah was almost a fly on the wall at an early Fleet Foxes recording session in upstate New York, where he's from. It's a great chat between a guy who's got some records under his belt and a fan/friend who's got infinite promise. Shore was one of 2020's best albums, and I think Elijah's Better Lighting will be making plenty of year-end lists in 2021. If you enjoy the chat, be sure to subscribe to Talkhouse wherever fine podcasts are sold, and find us on all your social channels at Talkhouse. Thanks for listening.
So what's up, man?
Not much. I put out the album in September and did a ton of interviews for about a month after that. And I've been kind of crashing since then, just looking forward to some downtime now, December, trying to figure out if I'm going to try and be closer to family or if I'm going to stay put in the city. The logistics remain debilitating. And yeah, I'm just in a processing mode, having finished something and put it out, and now trying to figure out what's next and, see what happens. How are you doing?
Totally. I'm good, man. I mean, it's interesting because my record's not out yet. So I'm kind of in that like wave of doing stuff like this. It's starting. It's not going to be out for, a few more months. So it's kind of like the beginning process of all of this. And obviously, as you know, it's kind of weird doing from home, like this, doing Zoom interviews and stuff is kind of a strange experience.
For sure.
But yeah, I'm good. I'm fortunate because, I'm from New York. I've never lived in a different state. So I feel very comfortable here. I was going to ask you, your family, are they all in Washington?
They're all in LA now, but we're from Seattle. So I'm kind of a lone wolf out here right now.
Yeah. How's that feel?
I'm a little sick of it.
Yeah, is it weird?
Yeah, I'm ready to be in the world a little more.
Mm-hmm. Does that mean going back to LA or going out west?
Maybe. I mean, I thought about going back to Seattle, but it's hard to think about moving right now without being able to go to a place and get the feel for it.
Yeah, totally.
It's weird. So when did you finish your album?
I finished it. I started recording last fall, and then I went out on tour for a month with my buddy Fote to kind of help him out and just kind of get my mind off of the recording process. And then I flew back at the end of that and finished it sort of at the end of last year into this year.
Yeah.
You just finished yours, huh?
Yeah.
That's awesome. I love that.
I know the one time that was possible to just finish something and put it out. I've always wanted to do that. I never liked that liminal phase between an album's completion and its release, that 4-month or 6-month or whatever it is, that holding pattern. I know that feeling. And so I'm who knows if it was a good decision ultimately, but like just to be able to do that one time has been killer.
Man, I think it was. I spoke to a lot of people who just brought it up to me, not even knowing that, we have a friendship of any sort, of just people saying like, have you heard the new Fleet Foxes record? It's kind of saving me right now.
Amazing.
So I really think it was a good move, and it is one of the best records I've heard in a long time. So nice, man.
Thanks, dude. That means a lot.
Yeah, of course. You started it last fall, is that it?
Yeah, I guess like you, last fall upstate. And I'd been writing for about a year before that. And it was pretty baked by February. And then there was a big delay because of COVID. And then I got a bunch more work done and finished it about a year after I started it.
That's wild. I read your artist statement, which I thought was very cool and made me even understand the record even more. I was wondering, in April, you said the record was pretty much almost thrown out. Why is that after putting in all those months of work?
It wasn't clear to me what the phase I was in April was that I had no lyrics done and I wasn't feeling in control of when and how they were happening.
Mm.
So that combined with the logistics of releasing an album without being attached to a tour, I was just imagining this experience of slaving over an album for another year and then holding it for another 6 months from there or something to wait for a tour. And that just seemed like such a quagmire that maybe it would be better. My psychology would be better served just by abandoning it. But ultimately I was able to finish everything I needed to finish and then just put it out. It was just that what's next phase in March, April, May, that everyone was in.
I had that same exact feeling in March and April of like,
yeah,
is this it? Is this just it? I don't even know what I'm going to do with this record. I need to think about something else. I totally understand that.
For sure. I'm a little bit back there now too. I'm thinking about writing songs, but I'm also
yeah.
I'm glad I had a whole album that was able to be far enough along that it was able to just be finished and released. Because now I'm back to feeling confused and what's the point of it?
Totally. I feel you on that, man. Have you been able to, and I ask this for myself mostly because I have thoughts about it, but have you been able to write much music during the pandemic?
Everything onshore at least kind of existed back in February.
Uh-huh.
At least the melody was there. If it wasn't fully recorded, there were bits and pieces of it that were lying around. Right. So my work during the pandemic was really just doing lyrics, recording vocals, and putting things together in a way that felt right. But I don't think I've written a single new thing, wholly new, musically since March.
Right. That's interesting to hear. For myself, it was very similar. I mean, tasked with like finishing the record on my end, just in the sense of like orchestrating stuff with everyone. It was really hard for me to write music, and I felt like I had wasted time, especially during quarantine, when we were in full lockdown, of like, should I be writing up a storm? And I just wasn't able to. What really got me, especially recently, is exploring some of the Brazilian music that we talked about, especially Louis Bonfá. I've been listening to his playing like crazy and just at home practicing guitar and trying my best to understand his playing and the technical ability. Mm-hmm. That's really what I think I've spent most of my time doing during all this.
I feel like I've been playing piano and a lot more and trying to get my sight reading back up to speed.
Nice.
And playing a little more classical guitar. With the Shore record, it was kind of one of the reasons I wanted to get it done and get it out was that it was kind of a product of the tour for the last Fleet Foxes record, where those were really long songs and they weren't really coming across live in the way that they weren't really made to be played live. So then the fun challenge became making songs that would be fun to play live and making an album that made sense for that kind of thing.
Right.
And so the whole idea of the record had to kind of shift. Circumstances shifted under the feet of it so much that I was like, I just need to finish this how I can, and then get centered in the present tense a little more somehow.
Yeah.
And I think I'm in that phase now of trying to just get centered as in 2020, 2021, and not be carrying a bunch of stuff from before. So yeah, I think that's part of why I haven't been able to write a song whole cloth from. I'm still just getting centered in this new world a little bit.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's good to hear, honestly, as I have similar thoughts in, different ways, but it's good to hear that, I guess.
But we can start a, encouragement group text or something. Yeah.
When I was reading your artist statement, I thought it was so cool to read all of the different people who played on it, and also how you traveled all over to different studios. It's really what I was thinking for my record, because the last record I made was the first record I had ever made, which was like the most intensely solo experience of my life. Painfully so. It was just like me in a room with my laptop and my guitar and just every instrument I could overdub on there. And the subject matter was intensely personal. It was just kind of an intense experience. So for this record, I wanted to travel, hence the tour I went on between sessions. I wanted to work with as many contributors and collaborators as possible. Work with a producer for the first time, which I had never done, Sam Cohen. So reading about your record and just learning about how you recorded it through that artist statement was super cool for me.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Yeah, it ended up being so fun and so rewarding, and kind of a feeling of, finally got it right kind of a feeling. I think I've ended every other album with some kind of either a process-based frustration or a creative frustration that kind of fueled the next one.
Mm-hmm.
And with this one, but the process was super smooth and enjoyable. All the contributors were amazing. And I'm like happy enough with the result that I feel like, justified by the process. I don't know if it's how well it will do. I mean, I don't know how well any album does anymore, really, but reaching out to the people I reached out to, just finally having the courage to do that and having it pay off in that way was really gratifying for sure.
In the lyrics and just sort of the whole being of the record, there is this, as I think you've described, celebration of life. You really feel it. It's awesome, man. And I don't think like one person can do it alone. I think one person can do most of it, or at least form something. But I think to like fully encompass that feeling, you need those people. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, I've been kind of, spinning my wheels with the record done, and I'm noticing that the thing I'm missing the most is the ability to just ask somebody to help me with a song or or
yeah.
be around people on a daily basis making a record. And
yeah.
And so I'm like, I should definitely get some more songs going just so I can be around people again, kind of,
Yeah.
It really does. It can be such a magnet and can be so fulfilling.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. After the last sessions that I had in the studio, I think of it all the time. It was just like the most freeing experience of my life. Similar to what you're saying, it just felt like it was so smooth. It's kind of a cool experience to have other people in the studio when you actually hit a groove and you guys are really all feeling it at the end, just to share in that experience. It's really something special.
Yeah, for sure. Man, I was reading some book that had an excerpt from Into the Wild, and it was like, happiness means nothing if not shared, or experience means nothing if not shared. And it's just
I love that.
Yeah, totally. It's just like that exact thing. We just got to find it how we can, I guess, in this Zoom world.
Yeah. Totally. Do you miss touring, or is it a little bit of, are you happy to be home resting, or do you wish you were in like an intense touring schedule right now? I'm
glad to not be in an intense touring schedule. I developed a lot of neck and singing issues on the last tour we did, and that was a very intense tour. It was very long.
Oof, yeah.
So I have some physical stuff to work out before that could happen again. So I'm grateful to have time to make sure that before we commit to anything, it's going to be possible and healthy.
Yeah.
I think if we just had to jump right into something, I'd be really in the weeds right now. So I'm really grateful for that. But I do miss shows. I miss going to shows a lot.
Me too.
Just the Sunday mass feel of a good show, or the community binding aspects of it. I miss that so much.
Yeah, me too, man. Especially, we're both here in New York. That's like every night there's something really cool happening.
That's the best part of living here.
Absolutely. I know. It feels really weird not being able to go see someone play or go hang out with a friend at a show, or just all the different aspects of that community feel.
I miss going to shows more than I miss playing shows, I'd say.
I feel that. I think I agree with you. Man, I got to say, this feels full circle for me, because I actually have this really kind of interesting story. When I was growing up, and I grew up in the Catskill Mountains in Phoenicia, New York.
Yeah.
My dad in like high school moved to West Hurley, New York.
Yeah.
Right next to Dreamland recording studio. I ended up interning there and like being a fly on the wall for a lot of really cool sessions and learning how to record, and just that was like my sacred place growing up. And you guys recorded Helplessness Blues there, or at least some of it. And there was a period where, I wasn't there for the sessions, but I would go over to my dad's house, and then we'd all sit outside and listen to you guys record it from down the hill.
Nice. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was literally right down the hill. It was like a little cabin right down at the bottom of that.
Wow.
That slope there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So it feels full circle.
That was kind of a wild session. I think that was like March 2020, I guess 2010, 10 years ago. It was great. Yeah, that studio was amazing. Yeah. But I think it was a little premature. I feel like there were a bunch of sessions on that record that started before they should have. The songs weren't together, or stuff ended up getting redone. That's one reason I've started doing a lot more prep work than before recording starts, just so that you're not putting the cart before the horse. But we got a lot of great stuff done there, but a lot of stuff also got redone.
Did you also, for that record, travel around a bit and do it at different studios?
I think that was the main one, and then tried mixing it at Sear Sound in New York, and it also got redone. And then it in Seattle, kind of just crawling to the finish line a little bit.
With Shure, traveling around to all the different studios, how did it shape the sound of it? Do you feel like everything that you did at each studio was just like brought a whole new vibe into the record itself?
Yeah, for sure. Different studios brought different things. The Vox studio in LA, their instrument collection was just so insane that it was impossible to not use all of that stuff as much as I could. And just having access to weird things or weird sounds or interesting sounds. There are a few songs that are complex chord-wise or time signature-wise, but there's also a lot of stuff where it was really just down to making sure that the sounds were really interesting and the melodies were really strong, and not like, oh, there are 200 chords in this song, but just kind of an interesting, simple thing. And so having access to a ton of different guitars, ton of different keyboards, weird percussion things, that was all really serving the process, I think. And then Aaron Dessner's spot where we started recording, that was just a great place to kind of break ground, a beautiful spot upstate, and lucky to have that experience. And then Homer's studio in Long Island City, finishing it there in July, August was just the perfect, so small team, socially distanced, and just the energy of meeting new people and being at work again. Every studio definitely had an impact. I'm glad that was an option for a lot of the process. And I don't really know that I would ever set up my own studio, because I feel like being in different environments usually serves whatever album I'm working on.
Yeah.
I haven't transitioned into producing other people that much, or mixing, or, the stuff where you do need a day-to-day space to just like a functioning workspace.
Right. Totally.
There's a bit of a kind of, I'm still in this romantic phase of album making, but
I mostly caught my interest because of what each studio seemed to really bring to the record, whether it be the instruments at Vox. I was reading through some of the owners and some of the different stuff that was there. It's so sick. I would love to play on a lot of that stuff. And then like the community aspect of Long Island City and the traveling to France. It's just like each one brings a whole nother energy to the record. And you can hear it. You can totally hear it. It's sick.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think at this point, doing a fourth album of songs that are predominantly all written by me and all sung by me, there's a bit of a seeking variety in, either in the writing or in the who else is contributing or in the process. And as much around that, there being as much kind of variety around that core of my voice, I guess, that is keeping it valuable over the years, being this deep into it.
I think one of my favorite parts of the record, by the way, I don't know if this was intentional or not, but a really beautiful moment, which is a very simple thing, at the beginning on Sunblind, when you give the nod to Berman, and then you hear that snare hit afterwards. The Josh, who is meant to play with Purple Mountains, and after you mention his name, it's almost like a nod to him. It's really personal. Every time I hear that, I feel it in my heart. That snare hit is really important to me.
Totally, 100%. Yeah, I mean, like that song, just getting Josh on that song and also getting Homer on that song, because Homer played with, he did double drums with Richard Swift in the Arcs. So just having those like, thematic resonances between the subject matter of the song and then the people who are performing it was like really powerful to me. And I'm really grateful to those guys for playing on it. That's something that only someone like you would maybe notice, but that it's there for you to notice it is gratifying for sure.
Immediately when you first sent me the record, that was the first takeaway. I was just like, yes, it's so beautiful. And also too, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't that the first snare hit of the entire record?
Yeah, totally.
It's really cool. And yeah, again, like all of the different little hidden gems throughout the record, I know they're there, and it's really cool.
It's funny working on records over a couple years, 3 years, whatever it is, and just those little Easter eggs that develop, or obsessing over something for so long that you start to see it a certain way and things mean certain things.
Yeah.
There's something about making albums that feels really special as opposed to just cranking out songs, or like when the album is kind of, I don't know. I'm trying to understand what's your album to you? What is an album to you?
Oh my God, man. What a question. I think to me, it's just a piece of work. It's something it's a body of work that sort of encompasses a period of my life, or a period of my work in particular, sort of a reflection of my technical ability and also my influences, my interests and my emotions. And then it's kind of there in history, right? You kind of record it down and have it as a body of work. Mm-hmm. One thing I do need to get better at is getting too emotionally attached to the record.
Yeah.
Because I'm so hard on myself about needing to do better, just with everything, with music, with all aspects of music. So much like what you're saying about Sure, though, this is an experience where I don't feel that really.
Cool.
It was just such a good experience. All I want to do is make another record. What is it to you? What is a record to you?
I think similar to what you're saying. I guess you could say it's a snapshot of a period of your life, kind of unintentionally or intentionally. I mean, I feel like I'm always trying to make the best album possible. Sometimes I'm not even thinking about it as being reflecting my life, but then other times it feels like it's just a document of an experience, and or a period of experience, like a 2 or 3 year period of living. That the songs were written along the way, in that period, as a way of processing those, experiences, and then making the album itself is this kind of adventure that you're on a little bit. So it's hard for me to imagine just cranking stuff out year after year after year, that would be reflecting those same things. I don't think I could make like 2 albums a year because just not enough would happen to be kind of contained. And it makes sense to me that it takes 3 years sometimes, even if you're not writing solidly for 3 years.
Yeah.
But I do feel like I want to be more productive, and I don't know, just trying to figure out the way to do that feels true to that way of seeing music as being both reflective of your life and also kind of guiding your life, but that doesn't feel arbitrary.
I'm always amazed when an artist will have like 2 records in a single year. I think it's different for everyone. So it's hard for me to say what's right or wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
I need time to sit with it, with my ideas. I need them to form, for me, a song will go through so many different processes. There are different versions before it becomes what it is for an album.
Yeah.
So for me, I really don't think that I could, if I wanted to, I don't think I could just like whip up 3 records or something, while touring or it's not how I want to work.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's cool to like set time to dedicate to creating something. That's, but what do I know?
What does anyone know?
Ain't that the truth, man? That's the truth. Working with Sam was a really cool experience in that he helped me. I came in with so many demos that were just like, some of them were absolutely insane sounding, like crazy arrangements or just bizarro forms or just like the weirdest stuff. And he was the one who was just like, okay, let's choose like 10 of these and just play it on the acoustic guitar, just play guitar chords and melody. And we'll start with just chords and melody rather than thinking about all these lush arrangements that I had in mind while demoing them. Mm-hmm. It's like, let's build it up from the bottom up, which I had never done before. And then from there, we were able to experiment with different textures and different soundscapes throughout the record and just using different timbres to reflect different emotions without using too much vocal power or whatever.
Totally. Yeah, Sam is great.
Yeah, it was a cool experience working with him. I really look forward to doing it again.
And it has, COVID has completely changed what it means to be in New York as a musician, I feel like. You felt that?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. How would you say?
Either a ton of people moving or just not having those community centers of like to be checking in with people. It's very strange.
Sam is upstate, just started this, he's opening up a studio up there. And a lot of the people who were through that hall at his space, they're all upstate, which I totally understand. I'm from those mountains, so I get it. I dream of being up there all the time. I went upstate recently, probably a month or 2 ago, and I saw from a distance, I saw an old family friend, and she was like, wow, you must be so happy to be upstate. The energy must just, I hear it's so weird in New York. And I thought about that for a while, just about someone hearing about living in New York from afar and not coming here. My conclusion is that whereas it is weird that we can't have these places to come to or check in with each other or play music with each other, I think the energy is still here in New York. I really do feel it. I think that there's this sense of we have each other's back, which I've always felt living here. But there is a sense of community, but it's just kind of like ripped apart and from afar. I too marched in the protests back in June. And to me, that was like such an emotional and intense and unifying experience. Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah, there's no baby's all right or whatever for the time being, but it's a protest to march in.
Yeah. With that said, I dream of being in the mountains every day. So maybe I'm just saying this because I'm trying to pump myself up. I don't know. When you sent me the record the first time, I was I was sort of interested in the fact that there were no vocals on some of them, or you said that, you know, they were rough.
Mm-hmm.
And then to hear the next version and hear fully realized, incredibly beautiful and articulate lyrics, I was like, oh my God, this is such a cool process that I was so intrigued by. And then to read later on about your drives around upstate, I thought that was super cool.
Every record, there's, you know, so many balls in the air, for lack of a better term, or so many, how many mixed metaphors can I throw out there? Some, you know, like loose threads, or
yeah,
you know, it's like this cloud of potential, and then it just over it, you know, it begins to form, and then there's this period at the very end where it all locks together. It needs to stay nebulous and open for a long time, and then it really comes into focus in the last couple of months. It's always interesting to me participating in that and making that happen. I keep coming back to like, what is an album? Like, why does it work this way? How does, you know, how do these, what are the subconscious processes guiding these things? And it's always, maybe there's 2 weeks between the roughs I sent you that didn't have vocals, and then and then in that 2 weeks, it all comes together and it all gets finished in this fever period, you know?
Yeah. Totally.
I get addicted to working that way a little bit. The kind of adventure of it, or the sprint, and the, you know, it's fun.
Just listening to both versions of the record and just being inspired by it, it absolutely has made me think about how I want to make my next record. So I thank you for that. Yeah, it's been super helpful. As just, you know, this is my second record ever. So it's cool to get to see the experience from your eyes and talk to you about it. And it's super helpful for me, man.
Awesome. That means a lot. Thank you, dude.
Yeah, I mean it.
And that's it. Robin Pecknold and Elijah Wolf in conversation for the Talkhouse podcast. Thanks to both of them so much for participating. Thanks to Kevin O'Connell for producing this week's episode. And as always, the Talkhouse theme is composed and performed by The Range. See you next week.